Hey there, Games Apprentice back with another EVERCADE video, and this week I'm going to be looking at the Capcom Collection that came on the EVERCADE EXP. There's 18 games on this one. Which one of them is the best? Well, let's find out. Now, the Capcom Collection is different to other EVERCADE collections because there's no physical edition of it. The only way to get this is by getting the EVERCADE EXP. So if you've not already got the EVERCADE EXP, this video could be important in deciding whether or not it's something that you get. Blaze have indicated that there's no plans to bring this physically. It was basically this or nothing. Now, in some respects that kind of sucks, but it does make this collection way better than any other collection. If I was reviewing this collection, it would completely break my scale. There's no way that this collection would come out on just one cart, it'd have to be on two. For that reason, I'm going to be breaking this video down over 2 weeks. Part 1 today is going to be ranking them from 18 to 10. If you're a fan of Commando, then you should be pretty happy there's not going to be much, if anything, you don't like on this collection. Personally though, I'm not a fan of Commando, and it's really the only letdown on this collection for me. Commando is a top-down shooter where you basically play a one-man army and you can shoot in any direction and throw grenades only up the screen. It's very much an arcade game, as if you've got the skills you can clear it in about 10 minutes, making it more about score chasing rather than completion. Unfortunately for me, I don't have the skills or patience for this one. Just like the opposition, a single bullet will take you out and there's loads of them flying all over the place. This isn't uncommon in shooters, but they're usually a lot more fun and feel tighter than this one. For me, the difficulty just doesn't go hand in hand with this style of multi-directional shooter if it's not a twin-stick shooter. Only being able to shoot in the direction you walk in is really irritating. I need at least Smash TV controls for old school multi-directional shooters. If you're okay with those controls though, you'll probably enjoy this one a lot more than I did. As a kid and now as an adult, the Western naming decisions of the Nakamura games has always been massively confusing, to the point where I was never sure which of the first two I actually played. The first game was Ghosts and Goblins, and this, Ghouls and Ghosts, was the second, not to be confused with Super Ghouls and Ghosts numero 3. If, like me, you absolutely suck at them, you'll have probably only seen the opening 5 minutes over and over and over, so could be forgiven for not knowing which is which, as they all look about the same at that point, just with some graphical upgrades. Mega Man 2 and the original Ghosts and Goblins were the two games I got with the NES as a kid, so at one point in my life Mega Man 2 was by far the easiest game I owned. Just take that in. It wasn't until the Mega Drive that I found out you're actually supposed to finish games, not just play them until you ran out of tears. When I saw this game on the list, I was excited to play again, mistaking it for the original until about 10 minutes into this review, as I thought I'd easily be able to beat it with save states. Nope. Still don't know what the second level of any game in this series looks like. Maybe one day I'll find out. If you've never played the series before, you play Arthur the Knight trying to rescue the princess. You've got your trusty lance, and if you take a hit, your clothes fall off, but not in some weird erotic way, but in a you couldn't even beat these enemies when you had armour on, good luck defeating them in your undies kind of way. If you were good at this game at one point in your life, you'll probably find it satisfying to see if your skills still hold up. If you've never played before, you'll most likely have to stop playing either out of frustration or because two halves of your EVERCADE won't go back together. I've heard Legendary Wings has an enjoyable co-op mode, but yeah, good luck with that on your EVERCADE EXP. Bad news for you, but probably good news for your best friend, significant other, or child. Initially, this one starts off as a top-down shooter, where you play yet another bloke in his underpants, but also with wings on his back and some sort of fancy pistol. Graphically, it looks decent for the time and has some nice sound effects and music. Unfortunately though, things take a turn for the worse when you fly into this bloke's mouth. The game then transitions from cool top-down shooter into awkward side-scrolling platformer. These bits didn't last long, but they're clunky, dull, and just completely unnecessary. Once you get back to the top-down shooter parts, it's pretty decent, but unfortunately, those side-scrolling parts just ruin it a bit. Strider was always one of the coolest looking early Sega Mega Drive games. If you wanted to impress your mates, you'd show them that, or if you really wanted to impress them, you'd show them party games on the Amiga. Strider, real name Hiryu, but you know, we called him Strider, did flips, could hang underneath ledges, climb walls, and had some weird melee weapon. What's not to like? Well, unfortunately, quite a bit, as like most old Capcom games, it's punishingly brutal, forcing your way to play it over and over until you learn enemy patterns and placements so you can make your way through the game. It's not the best gameplay for an action platformer, but what it lacks there it certainly makes up in style and overall presentation. Save states will definitely help you with this one as well. This is a follow-up to the earlier mentioned Commando, releasing about 5 years later, and it shows as graphically it looks so much better and has a pretty decent soundtrack. As well as that, it also plays better, being much less difficult to its predecessor. You now have a health bar, so no longer instantly die, making you feel more like a one-man army. You've also now got access to the Mega Crush Bomb, which kills everything on screen and can occasionally drive and pilot enemy vehicles. It's still got the same annoying control issues the first game had, but without instantly dying, it makes that less of a deal breaker for me, as I was able to enjoy much more of the game. The downside to it is that it gets a bit repetitive. It feels like the sort of game that would be more fun in a two-player mode, but again, the EVERCADE EXP's limitations strike. The best version of Bionic Commando came out on the Xbox Live Arcade and the PSN store, Bionic Commando Rearmed. But unfortunately for most, that's now lost to time, so you'll have to settle for this version, the arcade original. Bionic Commando's main hook is that you've got a hook, in the form of a grappling hook-like arm, as well as a gun. The catch is that you can't jump. Using your arm, you'll need to pull yourself up to higher platforms, swing across gaps, and grab power-ups, while shooting enemies with your other arm. It's not exactly an easy game, but compared to most things on this collection, it's a walk in the park. The grappling hook is unusual and pretty fun for the most part. There's some annoyances though. It takes a while to get used to the fact that you can't jump, and not being able to makes avoiding enemies tricky, as you're not quite as nimble as you would be with your slow grapple arm. You also can only shoot left or right. The enemies, however, are under no such restrictions, meaning that they'll be shooting down at you and you're not able to retaliate. Still, it's a fun game and one I've actually never seen in an arcade, so it's cool that it's on this collection. Vulgus is a pretty decent arcade shooter. You've got a standard shoot as well as a special cannon, and you collect power-ups. The sound effects are pretty satisfying, although the soundtrack, not so much. It doesn't look anything special, but compared to other 1984 shooters, it looks great. It's very much the gameplay which puts this one beyond the games mentioned so far. There's nothing special about it, but it's a solid shooter that gets all the basics right. There's certainly much better shooters on the Evercade, and there's 3 better shooters on this collection, but it's nice to see this one on here with different settings to the others to add some variety. This is probably the only game in this collection that won't be in anyone's top 5, because no matter what you taste, it's just decent. There's nothing special about it, and nothing for anyone to love about it. You can certainly see the Vulgus template in this game. This is another top-down arcade shooter, presumably set in 1942. It's a difficult shooter that took me a lot more attempts than I care to admit, just to get past about the first 15 seconds. It is, however, really satisfying to score chase on, and even after rage-inducing deaths, you'll come back for more. In this one, you can shoot, And you also have a manoeuvre button that gets you out of some scrapes, although I never managed to successfully pull it off. The music is a bit annoying and it doesn't look like much, but the shooting a plane sound effect is incredibly satisfying. I'm not a huge fan of shooters generally, but it's not hard to see why this one got some sequels. What came 3 years after 1942? 1943, of course. Sounds like some weird niche riddle. At first glance, it seems obvious that 1942 and 1943 are related, but gameplay-wise, 1943 is very different. Gone is the hard as nails, one hit and you're dead gameplay, replaced by a health bar. Seen a pattern yet? When you die, you can carry on from where you died rather than having to start over. This one feels more like a bullet hell shooter, being much faster and more chaotic. You can power up your weapon a lot, which is always fun, and your manoeuvre button has been replaced with a superpowered lightning attack. Although only one place apart, I much prefer the sequel to the original, but in my opinion, the best is yet to come. I've really enjoyed playing this collection. I can't stress enough how much better it is than every other EVERCADE collection. Even the bottom 9 would still get a decent score as a standalone. As always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video and click subscribe so you don't miss out on part 2 next week and future videos. I'll catch you next time.